Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm making this video to show how to reinstall the Lytx drive camera systems in a truck that has had the camera fall down or been improperly installed. So in the case of this one, it looks like the windshield was replaced and it was improperly reinstalled using these little round sticky pads, which aren't strong enough to hold the camera to the windshield. So to perform this process, you'll need a couple things. I don't know why there's duct tape on this camera. I'm going to peel that off and clean it up. So to perform this process, you'll need a couple of tools. It's pretty basic. Windex or some other type of cleaner, a razor scraper, the tool to release the bolts. You can see these use a security key, and a replacement windshield mount. So the first thing you want to do is take your sticker scraper. It's kind of hard for me to do this and hold the camera at the same time, so I'm going to pause it here. But take your sticker scraper. I already sprayed a little Windex on here, and you want to just get these old things off. You want to get them completely off. You want the windshield to be clean and dry and above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. They won't adhere properly if the windshield is too cold, or also if the windshield is wet. So I'm going to pause the video while I finish scraping these off, and we'll pick it back up when I go on to the next step. Okay, so now that the windshield is clean and dry, you want to take a look at the existing mount on the camera. While you're doing this, you should take a look at the wiring harness, make sure it's not frayed or broken. It does appear that the shielding got a little damaged on this one, but it otherwise seems to be intact. You can verify by turning the key, and we're going to just make sure that this camera powers up. So you can see you've got a green light, so that means it's getting power. Some other things you can do is manually press the button to trigger an event recording, and then verify on the back end that the recording completed successfully. Turn the truck back off. So let's go back to look at this mount again for a second. You'll see that the original tape is still on there. And what you could do is scrape that off, clean it off, reapply new VHB double-sided high bonding tape. I've already done that on some of these mounts. These are old mounts. I just cleaned off all of the residue from the old tape with paint thinner so that I could reuse them. Sometimes you have to replace the mounts. They're about $14 each from Lytx. So this old mount on this particular camera, you can see how badly bowed it is. And now this is a problem where I would not want to reuse this mount just because of how bent it is. You can try to bend it back straight, and I might actually try it. But the problem with it being really bent is you're not going to get solid contact with the windshield. So, since we already have some refurbished mounts prepped and ready to go, we're going to take our security key, and again, it's difficult to do this and hold the camera at the same time. Take these bolts out. Be careful you don't lose them. They are proprietary to this system. You don't want to use the wrong bolts. The security bolts out. You can remove the old mount. Again, tricky to do when you only have one hand. So you can see how this goes on here. It's Pretty straightforward process. You just pop the new one on. Go ahead and get those bolts back in. You don't want to make them tight, you just want to have them held on there, because you're going to need to position this once you get it reinstalled in the windshield. So also, while we have it off, it's good to just verify that the cable is tight. This security tab holds the cable in place and keeps it from falling out. Sometimes what I'll see is people will hang things, their sunglasses or a face mask or whatnot on this cable, and it'll cause damage to the cable itself. And if your cable is damaged, the only thing to do is replace it, and in order to do that, you have to go all the way back through the wiring harness of the vehicle, down the A-pillar, and then into where the rest of the harness is installed, typically near the fuse panel, glove box area on most trucks, and replace it from there. Usually requires some heat shrink, butt connectors, some inline fuse taps. Depends on how the camera was originally installed, and also on the type of vehicle. A Hino may be different than a Ford, may be different than an International, but same concept, just different placement of the actual hardware. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video again, and I'm going to get this mounted up on the windshield. I'm going to tuck the cable back in. Keep in mind when you're installing these, there are legalities as far as placement. It has to be, typically on this type of vehicle, we would have it centered on the windshield as high up as possible. So in that case, that's going to be like right up here. If you have it too far down, it can become an obstruction to the driver, which can cause you to fail your vehicle safety inspections. That depends based on the state. Like Virginia might be more strict than Maryland from what I've seen. But a lot of these trucks, they travel around, so you want to try to get it compliant with all relevant laws for your jurisdiction. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video again. We'll stick this up, turn it on again to make sure everything works correctly. I hope this video has been helpful to you. I'll just turn it on one more time once I have the camera reinstalled. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via cell or email, or leave a comment on the YouTube video. If this video has been helpful, please thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot. Thank you. Okay, here's just another quick shot of the reinstalled camera. You can see I got it centered on the windshield, and I tucked the cable back up inside of the headliner. A couple things I forgot to mention are, on some of these vehicles you may find that there's a backup camera which interferes with the placement of the Lytx camera. Again, that's going to be use your best judgment and try to follow the legalities of your particular region as far as where you move the cameras to. Sometimes you can move the backup camera to a different position. Sometimes you need to move the Lytx camera over a few inches. Again, you want to try to keep it as close to this location as possible, but obviously if there's a backup camera right next to it, you don't want the backup camera to be obscuring the Lytx camera. So you may need to reposition one or both. Another thing I wanted to mention is, on some of the Hino trucks, the rear view mirrors, when flipped down, come all the way across the windshield. So you can see I'm in an International right now, and that's not a problem. On the Hinos, the visors come all the way across, and they actually meet in the middle, so they'll obscure the camera. Two options on that: either mount the camera lower so that it's not obscured, but again, then you're going to run into problems with the placement being an obstruction when you get the truck inspected. Better option if you're working in a Hino is to take a Sawzall and actually cut part of the sun visor. Maybe you might need to cut off like this much or so. You don't want to interfere with any of the actual brackets that hold it into place. You can see in this truck it's in pretty bad shape anyway. But sometimes you just need to kind of take a Sawzall or a Dremel or tin snips and just trim back the sun visors a little bit so that the camera isn't blocked by them. So again, I hope this video has been helpful. Feel free to drop any questions in the comment or reach out to me directly, and I will try to help you as best I can. Have a good day. Stay safe out there. Drive safe.